Hey everybody, good morning. Hope you're doing well. I am going to tell you a little bit about my solo self-found Atlas passive tree. This is an Atlas passive tree that I'm using once I am basically done with most of the mechanics that I would otherwise want to do. For example, at the start of a league, it makes a lot of sense to spec into things like Jun for the revealed or the field modifiers, right, on gear. So you can get it on your crafting bench, or it might make a lot of sense to spec into Harvest, because in solo self-found Harvest is really good because you can much easier craft your gear or change your resistances or gear, that sort of thing. Yeah? So this is not the tree that you start out with. I would say that for me this is the tree that I sort of end with when I'm done doing most of the league mechanics that I need to do, or when my character is mostly geared and I just want to blast maps, and that's the case right now, then I am picking something like this. So today I just wanted to let you know how this works, talk you through my choices that I've made, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two. So here we go. The whole idea of this passive tree as a whole is that I just want to blast maps basically, and what I do is I put in 3 scarabs. Any scarab is fine because of a node that we have. I don't have the 5 link unlocked yet because I haven't done much Legion, but so right now I've only got 4 slots. I then take Fortune Favors Brave, and then I run my map. So that's the idea, right? So you can see my Fortune Favors Brave is twice as expensive as normal. And then over here I would have 3 scarabs plus a map. And that is the whole idea. So that's how I run the maps. And then what happens is I have blocked quite a few league mechanics. I've blocked the rogues, right? Heist, don't really need heist. I've blocked Metamorph. I have blocked Blight. I've blocked Ritual, I've blocked Legion, I've blocked the Harvest, right? And I have blocked Breaches. Now, what is interesting is that you can still roll those with Fortune Favors the Brave, right? I can still roll Breaches, but then at least when a Breach shows up in my map, I know that it is from Fortune Favors the Brave. If you don't block these, it's really hard to tell what Fortune Favors the Brave is rolling. And that I think is problematic because then you end up doing all of the mechanics. And if you don't have any points in something like, well, let's say Blight, it's not really worth doing, I would say. So this is why I'm blocking a bunch of stuff over here. And then I'm doing Fortune Favors the Brave. And if it then hits something like Breach, I know, okay, it has hit something like Breach because of Fortune Favors the Brave, and that is okay because I am doing also overloaded circuits over here, which is that the league map crafting options, and Fortune Favors the Brave is a league map crafting option. It also chooses 3 random notable Atlas passive trees associated with that league to treat as allocated. That basically means that out of all the, let's say Fortune Favors the Brave rolls Breach, it means that out of all the Breach nodes that are possible over here, it takes 3 of those at random, allocates them, and then it puts Breach into my maps, which is pretty decent, you know, that's like really not too bad at all. So that is the choice that I've made here at the very start. I am doing strong boxes, 3 over here and a few over here. So that's just something that's in the map. I am doing shaping the mountains, and I think this is shaping the seas or the skies. This is just for map sustain mostly, but also it gives you a 3% chance in completing your maps to gain a free use of a special map crafting option, and here a free use of a random map crafting option. And those 2 things can be seen over here. These are the special crafting options. You can't get these otherwise. So this does, for example, a bunch of tempests in your map, which could be fun. 26 to 24 to 36 additional strong boxes, Vaal side areas, labyrinth if you're interested into that. And then the other ones is a bunch of free crafts. See, I can 5 times craft for free essence. And also here it says it chooses 3 random notable Atlas passive skills associated with this league and treat it as allocated. And essence doesn't really have that many notable trees, right? Over here, it only has a few. It's got one over here. You can click on it and you can kind of see them, right? There's one over here that they're a tier higher. There's one over here that additional essences can be there, and there's one over here. So in total, you only have 4 essences. The league mechanic will automatically allocate 3 out of the 4. And that's a pretty good deal. And this is true for something like essence, but it is also true for something like domination if you don't spec into shrines yourself. It is true, not so much for breach, but it's very true for harbinger, because there are maybe only 3 notables for harbinger. Legion not so much, delirium not so much, and ritual also not so much. But especially harbinger and essence and domination, those are, I think, very good choices. So that is the idea of having this node and then combining it with Fortune Favors the Brave. You could go over here as well, and then Fortune Favors the Brave has 2 options. It is, however, then also twice as expensive. It costs 12 chaos instead of 6, so it's 4 times as expensive as normal. And I found that 12 chaos is really hard to sustain in solo self-found. Like spending 12 chaos on a map, that is, even if it's fully juiced, it's hard to sustain. And I'm getting most of my chaos actually from the league mechanic, right? From doing the Trial of the Ancestors. That's where a lot of my chaos comes from, which allows me to blast the maps in the way that I do. But getting chaos back from the maps, not super easy to do. So I have opted out of these 2. But, you know, if you're on trade and you like this sort of thing, you could opt in and see how you like it. But I don't think this is the most sort of valuable strategy to run on trade, which is why I'm playing solo self-found. So that is the part of blocking mechanics and having other mechanics in place. Then I've been experimenting quite a bit with this node, All Hands. I really like All Hands. It says your maps have a plus 40% chance to contain a random monster encounter. This is additive. So your maps will have a base chance to contain a master. It's probably, I don't know, 5 to 8% per master, typically. You add 40% to that, and that is really, really great. And should you have any additional modifiers that grant a chance to have an additional master mission, it will be added to this. The downside is that you're not getting any master missions anymore, but that is completely fine. But because I found that at least over half of the time I open a map, there's a master in there, and because of this node, quite often it's Jun, and I really like Jun. She gives me a bunch of good gear. I get sometimes even upgrades from field modifiers, but you can pick anyone you want. You could pick Einhar if you want. You can pick Elva if you want, and also Nico. But I have chosen Jun. You can pick 2 as well, and then you're basically guaranteed to get a Jun or a Nico. What I've done as well is with Elva, if you complete all of her stuff over here, she has an exclamation mark. She wants me to run the temple. Just don't run the temple, right? And she can't spawn anymore. So if you don't want Elva in your map for some reason, and I kind of don't because I want Jun, I just leave her as is, and then at least Elva isn't spawning, so only one of the 3 others is left. Einar isn't spawning as much, and the other 2 are spawning quite frequently. So that's I think an interesting node, and you should definitely try it out. I've got shrines over here as well. That is just like the shrines over here. And then in order for these masters to be a little bit more useful, For John, not so much, but for Einhar, or sorry, for Nico, I'm always picking this. This is a great node, I think. It's packed with energy. You gain +1 to all maximum LE res for each Voltaxic Sulfide Vein or chest found in your maps. There are 3 of these, so that's +3 all res, which is pretty good. 105% damage and 45% movement speed. This just makes you zoom through the map. It feels very good. And because of the all hands keystone over here, you're going to have quite a few Nikos in your map. And you could even just put in a Nico Scarab, right? To guarantee this being active. Why not? Then I have a few more things going on, I would say. First of all, let's talk a bit more about the mechanics that I leave open. Abyss, because it just spawns so many rare monsters. And I really don't mind running Abyss, so I keep it open even though there's nothing spec'd into this. I have open Expedition because I am taking this keystone over here, the Big Bomb Extreme Archaeology. This is a great node. If you have not tried this out, please do. It is insane, really. You just drop like a massive single bomb. You explode more than the screen. You explode like a couple of screens, and every monster spawns at once. You get to kill everything at once. It's amazing, honestly. Like it's an absolutely great node, and it saves you the hassle of individually placing charges and whatnot. You just place a single charge, press the button, and wipe out the field. So that is pretty good. Then I have left Delirium, and then I'm picking for Delirium this keystone. This is Unending Nightmare. The Delirium fog in your map never dissipates. As a downside, you can't find Delirium orbs and you can't find Simulacrum splinters. But I don't really need to run Simulacrum personally. And Delirium orbs sure are nice, but this basically makes your map have a 20% Delirium layer in it. And just the fact that Delirium doesn't end, you run through the portal, you have Delirium for the entire map, you get so many additional monsters, sometimes ghosts or that other dude spawns, right? You have a chance to maybe get like a good cluster jewel. It does drop tons and tons of cluster jewels like this. So Delirium, a fantastic node, I think, over there. Unending Nightmare, would recommend. I'm picking one more node over here as well, just to generate some additional reward types. Because you still get your regular rewards from Delirium. Just no more Delirium orbs and no more Simulacrum splinters. So that is Delirium. Then, of course, we're doing Searing Exarch. So the standard nodes over here, increased pack size. And this is duplication for maps. And, you know, other stuff. Especially the Wrath of the Cosmos is good. It gives you basically a chance for double effects on your altars, including double downsides. But these altars, they just generate a lot of currency for me, and they're basically the reason why I can sustain mapping in the first place. And then over here, it has more chance to spawn altars, which is what you want. I have got a little bit of Beyond as well, especially this keystone over here. You can't spawn unique monsters anymore, and you have less merging radius, meaning that you just get less Beyond monsters. But because you don't spawn a unique boss anymore, the Beyond doesn't end. And so Beyond is active on your entire map. And it is not uncommon, for example, that I have a map that is completely juiced up. I hit a Delirium orb, or sorry, I hit a Delirium portal. I spawn Beyond. And I just have so many monsters in my map. So these two nodes combined, I think, are just amazing, and I would once again definitely recommend. So I'm taking some nodes over here. I'm taking this. This is just a 1 in 10 maps. We'll have now Beyond on it. And I'm taking these nodes over here. Increased merging radius and increased chance to spawn a Beyond portal, just so you get more Beyond monsters in here. You don't need Thornville because you're not spawning unique boss, so you're not taking that. And then finally, I am basically taking all of these little small nodes. It says 2% increased effect of modifiers on your non-unique maps. And the modifiers on your map, that's just the prefixes, right? The prefixes, suffixes, the modifiers. And this adds up quite a bit. All of these little nodes, right? They're all the 2%. So your maps get all of those modifiers multiplied by, I don't know, 20-ish%. No, even more, I think. 30, potentially. So that is quite significant. And I'm taking Growing Hordes for now at least. This is something that I swap out. Sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes I have my node over here, Stream of Consciousness, depending a little bit on how many scarabs I have. But when I have scarabs that I don't want to use in their regular way, for example, scarabs that give additional uniques, or scarabs that spawn the Shaper maps, those kinds of scarabs, I spec temporarily into Growing Hordes, and I put all of those in my map device because it gives me increased pack size. And increased pack size is really, really strong. If I don't have any scarabs, I go into Stream of Consciousness, which means that you can put scarabs in, but you have a base chance for more extra content, which is still pretty strong. That's a lot of extra content. Or I just simply spec out of Growing Hordes and I don't have any of the two active, and I just use scarabs as they are originally intended to be used. Meaning I spawn Nico via a scarab, or I spawn strongboxes, or harbingers, or expedition. So that is how I'm using that. And then I have the middle ring over here. That is quantity. Quantity is just really good. I think these nodes are quite amazing. You could argue I should be trying to take these as well, but I don't really feel that I want, for example, harvest or essences. I mean, maybe you could make an argument that you want to take these and then this, for example. But right now, just taking the outer layer. I still have a few more points to go as well. I don't have like fully invested yet, but I'm pretty close. 128 out of 132. So who knows? I might get there someday. So that is my Atlas passive strategy. I think I covered everything except this. This is just useful to have. Seance. It gives rare monsters in each of your maps possessed, and their minions are touched. And possessed monsters, those are possessed by one of those tormented spirits. And the reason you want that is because quite often your sextons run a mod that says possessed monsters, the first 3 possessed monsters drop a scarab or something. And this guarantees that at least you have possessed monsters in your map, so that scarab can drop, or that unique can drop, or that map can drop. Because otherwise the sexton modifier is wasted, or you have to re-roll. But I don't have that many awakened sextons. They are pretty rare, and once again Trial of the Ancestors is giving me quite a few, but otherwise hard to sustain the sextons as well, even with the Searing Exarch over here. So that is everything that my Atlas passive tree is currently. There is one more thing that I want to bring to your attention, and that is this node. And I will probably experiment a little bit with this as well. But this is a node called Wandering Path. It says notable Atlas passive skills grant nothing. And notables that are these ones, right? Sort of the medium-sized nodes. These are the notables. These are keystones. And these are small passive nodes, I think. Yes. And then it says 100% increased effect of small Atlas passive skills. So that's basically all of these will be doubled. That's pretty massive because that doubles the quantity. That doubles these modifiers. The big downside is, of course, that something like this is completely pointless. So you would spec out of that. You would spec out of at least this one. For beyond, it's completely fine. You would spec out of this. And I think the biggest drawback and the biggest reason why I have not taken this so far is that you will have to spec out of all of these. These are now completely pointless because you can't block mechanics anymore. And that either means that Fortune Favors the Brave is going to be much harder to, to run, because you don't know which league mechanic it picked, because you can't block anything anymore. But it might still be very much worth it. And yeah, I am considering doing it, honestly. It would be interesting for sure. At least to run it just for, a few days and see what happens to your map device. I think you would spec out of strong boxes, honestly. I don't think those strong boxes are then very good. You would spec out of shrines, but you would just get base chance of mechanics that you like. So you would get base chance of expedition, base chance of delirium, because these things still work, right? These are not notables, these are keystones. So your unending nightmare still works, and your extreme archaeology, it still works. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's something to consider at the very least, and I think an interesting thing to try out. I know that some other content creators are running that node and have found great success with it, so that is something that you could definitely try as well. And maybe later today I will. But that's all that I wanted to show you guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.